Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Random Hearts and welcome to the backyard. We are going to do some harvesting in our garden today. Plus, I would like to take you on an August tour, early August. Last year, I took you on a late August tour of the garden. Different things are in bloom at different times of the year, so I want to show you what is blooming this time of the year. Our only problem is we've had a lot of rain in the last couple of days, and I am expecting rain again today. So this video may span 2 days. I may have to do the garden tour tomorrow morning. But this morning I want to work on harvesting some things from my garden. I've got some lettuce that needs to be pulled, I've got some kale that I need to harvest, and I need to put in the freezer. If you'd like to watch that video where I harvested last year and put my kale in the freezer, I'll link that in the cards up above. I also need to pull my garlic. Now, this is my first year doing garlic, and I'm not exactly sure if I'm ready or it's ready to come out of the ground, but I am working with a hardneck variety, and from everything I've read, as long as those last several leaves on the bottom are starting to turn brown, they are ready to pull out of the ground and to harvest. Soft neck varieties are a little bit different. They will actually flop over and tell you that they're ready to harvest. But let's get to this. Let's see what we've got in the ground. All right, I've got a couple of tools here just in case I need them. I've got this tool right here, which is a weeder, and I'm going to use that to get into the ground and pry these up when they're close to something else. I've got a bypass pruner here, and I've got a trowel. All right, so I do have my drip line here. I do not want to disturb that too much because things on the other side of this bed are going to need water once we get done here. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my trowel, get down as deep as I can. I'm going to kind of go around this garlic clove. Want to loosen that dirt up. Now, I did turn off the water to this bed a week ago, but we have had rain every single day for over a week, and I don't think, yeah, the soil's pretty wet still. So I'm not sure that was necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and just kind of work my way around this. My soil's pretty hard here, so I want to make sure that I'm not pulling these too hard. And oh, yep, that's a good looking one. Look at all those roots. All right, I need that to dry, so I'm just going to set that to the side. And we're going to work on the next one. I may speed this process up. A little smaller, but yeah, that's going to do it. Those are looking great. And they do have that papery outside. That is definitely what I was looking for. And it's hard to believe that these went in as a single clove of garlic last October. It was about mid-October when I planted these. I will link up in the cards when I planted these, because I did put a video out on it. This is my first year planting garlic, and I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing. I had done some research on it, but yeah, we're going to have some smaller ones. I kind of knew we would, but oh, they are looking great. I'm so happy. And I'll just keep doing this, and I'll show you what I've got in the end. I was very nervous harvesting this bed of garlic because this is my first time and I really didn't know what to expect. I had pulled a garlic bulb about 2 weeks ago, and it was so small, and I was afraid everything in the bed was going to be that tiny. And if you're familiar, last year I planted potatoes for the first time, and I may have harvested those a little bit too soon. I had a lot of foliage on my potatoes, but there were very few tubers inside the bags, and it was very disappointing. Now, this music garlic did not disappoint, and in fact, I was super happy this spring after our long cold winter to see those little green shoots coming out of the ground, and I will definitely plant garlic again. Now that I've got my garlic all pulled out of the ground, I am going to leave it in this state, dirt and all. I don't want to trim anything at this point. I want to let these dry. Now, normally you would want to sit these outside in a location that is out of the sun. I don't really have a great location in my backyard for that because I am south facing. But I am going to put these in the garage. We're going to set up a pallet, a wooden pallet, and I'm going to put these on those. I have seen people that put them into like the baker's racks upside down, but I do not have a baker's rack. So we have pallets from working on the stonework on the patio, and so that's what I'm going to use. But we are going to put those in the garage because we do have rain in the forecast, and like I said, I don't have a great location that is out of the sun. So that is where these are going to go. They're going to dry for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then I might do another video with how I clean these up and prepare them for storage. I am super happy with that garlic harvest. We planted 32 garlic cloves in the ground last fall, and I got 30 bulbs out of it. Now, some of them are a little bit small. Some of them only have 4 cloves in them, but I have a few that have 6 and 7, and that's pretty good for a hardneck variety. So now I want to harvest some of my lettuce and my kale out of the garden. I do have some lettuce that is about ready to bolt, and once it starts getting to that point, it's not the best flavor. And so I want to get that out of the ground. I want to get some kale harvested, and that will be it until we do our garden tour. And hopefully we can do that this evening. If not, I will do it tomorrow morning. Well, friends, you can see that it is the next day. We did get rain last night, but it was late in the evening. Our problem with filming yesterday was the wind. We had a lot of wind yesterday afternoon as that storm came through. We're going to start our tour right here with this cork bark fir. Now, this tree was planted, I believe, 2 years ago, and it has grown a ton. I think when we first put it in, it was about this tall, and it has taken on quite a bit of growth. Now, this is a miniature tree, so it is not supposed to get over, I believe, 10 feet tall. So I will check those stats and put those on the screen if that is different. But yeah, this is a beautiful tree, and I love it. I'm also going to show you right here, we've got our maple tree. I did prune this year. I took 2 sets of lower branches off of it. They were large branches. I did want to take these 2, but I felt like it was too much to take in 1 year. Because this tree has only been here for 3 years, if you don't know, we used to have a huge Colorado blue spruce here. But about 4 years ago, that was taken out by a huge snowstorm, and we did have to take that down. But this Autumn Blaze maple has done beautifully. It has also grown a ton in the last few years, and I will be ready next year to take those lower 2 branches off and build that canopy up. Now, our Shasta daisies right here are still stealing the show. I have started cutting some of them back and deadheading some of the spent blooms. I do see a couple that I need to do still. But they are doing very well. This is their 2nd year in the ground, and they are beautiful. We also have our 2 Russian sage over here, and they have started blooming, and the color in this bed is just gorgeous. Now, when we come around on the other side, you'll see I have all of my annuals on the front of this bed, and they just pop with those back colors. You'll see right here on our lilac that we've got a lot of new growth. All of this is new growth. Same with our 9 barks. Everything in this section seems to be loving life. All of my cut back salvia right here is struggling a little bit. I do have something eating it, and it is struggling a little bit to come back. But that's pretty much it in this section. We're going to walk around and we'll see what we've got around the other side of this flower bed. So we're on the front side of this bed now, and this is what you normally see. Most people don't walk on the back side of our fence line. However, that is how you get up to that bench up at the top, is to walk along that pathway. But right here you can see I've got all of my marigolds. They're doing very well. I did lose a large section of this one right here the other night, and of course I had the one that was mysteriously topped. All of my marigolds are doing well. Cabbage is not doing well. I have not had any success with my cabbage this year, which is very sad because this is my third year growing cabbage, and last year I had a beautiful harvest from it. This year I've just struggled with it. And that is just how gardening goes sometimes, from year to year. Petunias are doing well. Everything's a little bit floppy right now because we did get rain last night and the sprinklers went off this morning. These again are that sedum, the lemon coral sedum, and they are doing beautifully. I need to cut back my dianthus right here. They are starting to do a little bit of a rebloom down at the bottom, but I did not get them cut yet, cut back. And then I've got some campanula right here that is blooming, and then our spirea that has the same pinky tones as my dianthus. Everything over in this section is doing really nicely, and our hydrangeas are just starting to bloom. So I'm very anxious for those to take off. We are now in the section that is right below our elm tree. Now this elm tree has caused us some issues this year. We didn't get any leaves on this tree until about the first week of July. Instead, we had a ton of seed pods. Now those seed pods hit the ground, and because we've had a very wet summer and spring, they have germinated, and we have little tiny elm trees everywhere in the yard. You'll see that as we go through the garden tour today, that a lot of our beds have a lot of elm seeds in them that have sprouted. Now this upper section up here, we had quite a few transplants this year, and most of them are doing pretty well. We do have a few issues with the astilbe that are on the end here, and I did talk about that in one of the last garden tours. They have not died yet, so I am hopeful that they will make it through and maybe do something. We did plant them when they had bloom stalks on them, and sometimes transplant shock when they're already in that blooming stage can cause the plant to have some setbacks. But down here on this lower section of this garden flower bed, I've got my daylilies right here. They are beautiful, but the problem is daylilies only last for one day. So I've got 4 open flowers today. All of those will be closed by tomorrow, and hopefully some new ones will pop up for tomorrow. But this section right here is doing pretty well. I do have some cutback that I need to do. I've got all of my perennial salvia needs to be cut back in this bed. I just have not had time. We have been very, very busy, and summer has come to a close very quickly as I am already back to work. In this section of this bed, I've got some Shasta daisies right here that are blooming. They are almost done blooming. I do have a few coming in that will take over here in a little bit, but I'm already having to cut some back. This is one that probably will need to be cut back in a couple of days. Now I've got phlox blooming back here as well, and all of my lavender is in full bloom. But as you look underneath this plum tree right here, you will see that I definitely have some issues with elm seeds and their sprouts. So yeah, we've just got a lot of work ahead of us. As we pan into this bed over here, you're going to see another Russian sage, that cut back barberry, and you'll notice right away that we don't have any ground cover here. We did take most of the bark out. We ran into some issues when weather changed, and so we have not gotten to that to finish this bed up, but we are taking out all of this weed barrier and the large bark in our beds. We're just slowly but surely taking that out. We are trying to keep some of the nutrient soil broke down bark pieces that are on the top of these, but it has proven to be kind of a difficult task. So hopefully within the next month we'll get this remulched with some smaller bark, and this will look so much better. So we're in front of the deck right now, and this bed right here, I talked about last time, we needed to repaint the sprinkler box cover, and I have done that. You'll see that it is the same color as the ground. I do need to put some extra mulch in here. I have been planning to do that, but I just haven't gotten to it. Basically, my Stella d'Oro daylilies are done in this bed. I've got everything, all the bloom stalks are cut out. And even my dianthus is done in this bed. I just need to do a cutback on that, and maybe they'll flush a new bit of growth, but that is pretty much it for this bed. So we're here at the window box right in front of the kitchen window, and I wanted to show you this because this has kind of been an epic fail this year. When it first put it in, it was a gorgeous mix of very light pastel colors. The Gara in the back, the light pink, the whites, the periwinkle blue, and then this beautiful super bell. But the sun and intense heat coming off of the house and the window glare has created some problems for this. And the Gara has basically been swallowed up by these daisies right here. And it's just not doing super well. And I have to keep it watered quite frequently. I do not have drip on this as well. And so that does create some issues. This is not a combination that I would put again in this location. I did like them, but I think they need a little less sun. We are now under our spring snow crabapple, and this bed right here is the one that I have my little red flyer wagon in. This is a wagon that my children have had for a lot of years, and we turned it into a planter a few years ago. Now this is another epic fail if you ask me. The Snowland daisies, I believe, are the issue. In ground, they kept to about 8 to 10 inches tall, but in all of my containers or pots, they exploded. You can see this is clearly over 8 to 10 inches tall. Now the scale is wrong here, so my salvia, the annual salvia in the center, probably should not have been the center plant, and I probably should have had this in there. I'm not real happy with the mix here anyway, because the super bells needed a little different water conditions than everything else in this planter, and so I'm just not sure that this was a great mix this year. Even though the colors are beautiful together, the plants just did not work well. Now on the other side of this tree, we have a few of our transplants from this last year. I've got 3 echinacea right here that are doing beautifully, and they seem to be getting plenty of sun, so I'm not concerned with that. I also have a spirea up front that is blooming, and then towards the center of this bed, I've got a penstemon that I have already cut back. So next year, hopefully we'll add to this bed and keep adding a few more perennials here and there. But you can see that I've also cut back all of my bulbs. All of my daffodils, all of my tulip foliage has now been cut back in this bed, and we're just waiting for that to die down to the ground. In front of me, I've got all of my herbs, and a lot of them are going to seed. I have dried herbs like crazy, and I have so many right now that I don't know what to do with them. I have been offering them to friends, but you know, it is what it is. At some point, I don't need that many. We are now opposite those herbs on the patio, and this is where I've got some grow bags and a couple of random planters. They're all on drip irrigation, and you can see right here I've got a lot of hot peppers on this pepper plant. I do not remember the name of this pepper, but I will put it on screen so that you can see. This is really the only pepper in the entire yard that's doing anything. Everything else hasn't even flowered. The tomatoes that are behind in the grow bags have gotten a little bit of a jungle theme going on here, and I honestly have a ton of tomatoes on them, but I don't even know if I would be able to harvest them or know when they are ready. It is that thick. And everything else that was in those planters has kind of gotten swallowed up by the tomatoes. So I would do things a little bit differently with these grow bags next year. We are now on the other end of our patio area where our seating area is, and these are 3 of my planters. They're all on drip, and I will pop up on the screen what these looked like just a month ago. They have just shot up. My purple fountain grass in particular is just gorgeous. I love what it is doing, and all the color combinations in here just went very well together. No one plant is getting drowned out by another plant, and I love the way it looks. In the bed in front of those, we have got some Nepeta and some annual salvia that are still in bloom. But our Stella d'Oro daylilies are finished. I have cut all of those bloom stalks back, and we'll just get that grassy texture from those plants until that foliage starts to die back, probably within the next month. I've also got some Iceland poppies up here in the back that are still blooming, along with our Russian sage, and it is buzzing with bees. In fact, there's a couple of them on there right now. So they love that purple Russian sage. It is definitely a pollinator in my garden. But on the other side here, we've got some autumn joy sedum. This is a sedum that has a pink bloom on it, but as that bloom dies back, it becomes a bronzy color, and I just leave that all year round. It is great for fall interest and winter interest. As we move down in this bed, I've got some more of the Stella d'Oro daylilies. Those are, I think I've got 1 or 2 bloom stalks in that one. And then the Gaillardia has taken over. That is doing very well. I have 2 sections of that. One is behind where the Iceland poppies are. But everything is looking wonderful in this bed. I did want to point out, this is our perennial salvia that we cut back in my deadheading video. And this one I thought had some powdery mildew on it, but you can see it is flushing back some new growth, and it is all very healthy leaf structure. I'm very impressed with how well it did, and I did cut that back quite a ways, as you saw in that video. But that is doing well, and I'm very happy with it. We also have a couple of volunteer marigolds in this section, and those must have been from last year, because I did not have any orange marigolds in this bed at all. And in fact, I don't even remember having orange marigolds in this bed last year. So yeah, marigolds can self-seed pretty easily. As we move down this section right here, you're going to see this patio area is almost done. We do need to put that polymeric sand in between all of the pavers, but we have gotten the outside concreted in, and we've got everything set. We just need to get that done. We've been waiting for some non-rainy weather to do that. But under our chokecherry here, this is a Canadian red chokecherry. This has been in the ground for, this is its 2nd season. It's only been in the ground for 1 winter. And we have a lot of chokecherries on it. And of course, the birds are loving that. We also have a lot of zinnias down in this section underneath, and they have just taken off in the last month. Lots of new growth. I do have a weird thing going on right here. These are the uproar rose right here. I have a whole swath of them. And for some reason, I have 2 orangey red zinnias in that mix. And I don't know why that would have been, but those seeds came from Johnny Seed, and they are definitely not a rose color. They are definitely an orangey red. But everything in this section looks awesome. I do need to plant 2 zucchini. I didn't listen to my own advice last year when we put in those butternut squash, and I needed to have 2 for pollinating. So we have no squash yet. Everything in this section is looking amazing, and just needing a little more heat to get a little more growth. And then we've got sunflowers on the back wall. They are being eaten by something. We think it might be a white fly of some kind, but they are doing quite well, and you'll see they are all getting ready to form up some heads and some flowers. They're going to be gorgeous when they finally do bloom. Now these are the Tall Pro Horizon, and I have some branching sunflowers down here. Those are not doing quite as well, and I do think that just because the fence is shadowing them quite a bit, and so are the other sunflowers. But everything in this bed looks amazing. We're going to move on to the garden next. We are over in the garden area. I have 5 raised beds over here, and we're going to start right here with my pea trellis. And I am 5'3", and you can see I've got peas that are well over my height. This pea trellis was new this year. It was an investment. It was a little bit on the pricey side, but I did get that from Gardener's Supply, and I've been very happy with it. We have got a very lucrative harvest of snap peas this year. In fact, I think we've harvested already about 5 times, and I already need to come out and do another harvest. We've got a lot of them that are ready, but very good investment, and I wish I had done it a lot sooner. Down here I've got green beans, or if you want to call them purple beans. These are the amethyst, and I've got some of them that are coming along. They start off a little bit on the green side, and then as they mature, they get a little more of that purple coloring. I've also got my space spinach right here, and I believe we're pretty much done with that. It has started to bolt. I may be able to pull a few of the spinach leaves still, but this is another set of green beans. These are the Blue Lake. And we've got a lot of flowers on there. I am not seeing any baby green beans. Oh, yep, I've got one right there. There are some baby green beans coming, but they're just not quite as far along. As you come into this bed right here, I did pull out all the lettuce yesterday, and we harvested some of my kale. And this is another set of radishes. This is a second regrowth. I did plant these probably 2 weeks ago, and they've already got quite a lot of growth on them. As our temperatures cool off, those will do better. So more radishes are coming. As we pan over into this bed right here, we still do not have any tomatoes yet, but you can see I've got a little orange one right here, and I've got a red one on the other side. They are starting to mature. So it won't be long, and we will have a ton of tomatoes. This bed has really been taken over by these marigolds, and not much else is getting much light of day. This is some basil right here, and there's a jalapeno back here, but it is hiding behind all of that, so it's not doing anything. We've had a lot of strawberries this year. In fact, I pulled some just a couple days ago. And some of them are on the small side, some of them are on the larger side, but they're doing quite well. I also have cut back all of my chives. I did harvest a bunch of those the other day, and I dried those on my dehydrator. Into this bed right here, I still have left my beets, but they're doing little to nothing. I'm just going to leave them. They'll just become part of the soil when we till that in at the end of the season. I've got some carrots right here. They're doing quite well. More cabbage and kale, and one last Fusion Crisp lettuce. And that is everything in this bed. Of course, none of my cabbage is doing anything. This one's got a tiny, tiny, tiny little head. But they are so far behind, and I don't know. I had a lot of luck with lettuce this year, and peas, and a lot of the cool season crops, and cabbage is a cool season crop, but it just did not do well. As we move over into this bed, this is the one I took the garlic out of yesterday, and I've got 2 different types of carrots here, and some bulb onions running right down the center. Everything in this bed is looking great. It's a little bit behind with growth over the other carrots in the other bed, but I'm not worried about that. I think we've got at least another month's worth of viable growing season, maybe even a month and a half. As we move down to this bed here, more green beans. This is a jade green bean, and we are getting green beans on this one too, just a little bit of a tiny green bean there, and they are all over. We've got a jalapeno pepper back here, but it is not doing anything. It is getting plenty of sun. It's not being shrouded, so it should be doing fine. And I've got a couple of different tomatoes right here. These are big beef style tomatoes, and they actually have some tomatoes on them. I've got one down here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a pretty large tomato. And then another one up here, and they're doing quite well. These right here, two different varieties. This is a Mountain Magic up front, and then I can't remember what this one is. Oh, this is the New Girl. This is the New Girl tomato on the back. All of them have tomatoes. They're doing quite well, and I couldn't be happier with what's going on in some of these beds. I just wish that peppers and cabbage had done a little better this year. They just have suffered. So that's probably where we're going to end this video for today. I do want to show you the two planters that are on the wall here. Those we decided not to put on drip, and they are doing pretty well, but when we go on vacation or we leave town, we do have to set those on the ground and somewhere where the sprinklers from the lawn can water them. Well, friends, that's going to do it for us today. That was our garden tour for August. We harvested our garlic yesterday and a bunch of kale and lettuce, and I hope that this has been an enjoyable video for you. I do try to at least get out here and show you what everything is doing on a monthly basis, especially during the growing season. Because everything changes so rapidly in the garden and things are in bloom for a short amount of time and then they're out of bloom, it is constantly changing. And this year in particular, because of how wet we have been, it has been a challenge. We have a lot of bugs that we have not seen ever in our yard, and I've been challenged with bug damage and disease, and even a little bit of fungal issues. We've got mushrooms even, believe it or not, in my garden beds and in my lawn. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us today. We hope that this video has been good for you. If you have any questions or comments about anything that we're doing in our garden, please leave those questions or comments down below in the comment section. We would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel if you've liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up, and we hope that you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.